Welcome to the November meeting for Placerville Arts Association. I'm Linnell Phillips. Thank you all for attending. Today we will have our 56th National Mother Lode Art Exhibition show judge, Barbara Burge. Barbara will discuss her process for selecting entries for the show. I'll also make some important announcements for the membership after Barbara's presentation. And if we muster a quorum, 25% of the membership today, we will take a vote on the slate of officers for the 2023 Placerville Arts Association Board. This year's Mother Lode Show has been a record breaker in so many ways. We received 413 entries this year and selected 137 pieces of art for the show. This was our first evening reception, and wow, what a great time. I want to offer a very special thank you to our co-chairs of this year's shows, Sue Wickersham and Donna Nelson. They did a tremendous job. We were very happy to be at the MAC this year. It's a lovely gallery with a very special curator. A huge thank you to Cheryl Gleason and her volunteers, Deborah, Anu, and Cooper, who helped with intake and greeting and show setup. I also want to thank Ron Hall, who helped Cheryl curate the show. Gratitude to Eric, the intrepid bartender, and to our Placerville Arts Hospitality Chair, Roberta Bassford, and her team, Lucia and Marilyn, for their outstanding work at the reception. Deep appreciation to all the artists and volunteers who attended the show every day the show was open. And thanks to all the artists who entered the show. Next year, our 56th National Mother Lode Art Exhibition will be again at the MAC, and we look forward to seeing you all entering again next year. It's my pleasure to introduce Barbara Burge, the juror and judge for the 56th National Mother Lode Art Exhibition. Placerville Arts acknowledges that Ms. Burge was uniquely qualified to jury and judge its 56th National Mother Lode Art Show. Not only was she suggested by Cheryl Gleason, Barbara has the wide range of art experience our team was looking for to help produce a large, diversified art show for our 56th year. And what a terrific show it was. Barbara is currently the Arts Council of Placer County CEO, is on the grants committee, and is the liaison for the ACPC advisory team. She is a charter member of the Art League of Lincoln and was vice president of their board of trustees. While at the Art League, she curated 7 art exhibits and juried the call to artists, applications, and exhibit awards. Please join me in welcoming Barbara for her comments today. Thank you, Barbara. And we're going to let you take control, and I'm going to bring the slideshow up. So let me know when you want me to flip the slides around.
All right. Thank you for having me today. I really appreciate it. And thank you for inviting me to juror, judge, and enjoy all the art that I saw on Entry Thingy. It was a lot of work. Impressive, and I would recommend it to anybody. So it was a lot of fun seeing so much wonderful art and difficult getting it down to what it needed to be. The show itself was absolutely fabulous. I mean, you guys have done an outstanding job with this exhibit, along with Cheryl and her staff and the MAC. People, I'm still hearing comments up here in Placer County. People who stopped by, went to see it. It was pretty impressive. So I'm not going to keep talking since there's a few of us, and I would kind of think that maybe some questions would be in order, really pretty quickly, since how many people do we have here, Lynn?
Well, now your speaker's off, but I see we have 8.
Right, that's correct.
Yeah, so that won't take too long if we do questions with 8 people. Lynn, let's go ahead and show the pieces that won and name the artists. We'll start with the Placerville Arts Association.
All right. I will share my screen and bring that presentation up. And let's see if we can start a slideshow. And so the first entry is the third place award for Placerville Arts.
Thank you. This is by Cheryl Lynn Morris. It's called Sea Creature. This was a unique piece of art, extremely well done. And when you use this type of art and see this type of art, that's what one of the things you look for is the craftsmanship, the workmanship. This spoke to me in a lot of different ways. It made me laugh. It made me think. And I had questions. I didn't get to ask them, but because I was busy that night, but coming up with the ideas and putting this together was a very unique mind. And so I really enjoyed seeing this and enjoyed giving it third place award. Thank you, Sherry. All right, let's go to the second place. This piece of work spoke to me as I walked into the gallery. And you'll hear me say that a lot. I have conversations with art. They speak to me, they call out to me, they ask me to look at them from far away. Sometimes they ask me to come up close and look closer. And this piece was very provoking. The look in her eyes, the technique was amazing, but the artistry was very, 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 very fine work. And this young woman is quite young. I have no idea how young, but she seemed quite young. So she's really developing at a quick pace. Her name is Philippa McDuff, and this is called Belonging. All right, let's move on to first place. And if you saw my face right now, you'll see the smile. First place, the band, Joyce Campbell, gourd art. What is not to like? It's wonderful, wonderful craftsmanship, art, and it makes me happy. Sorry about that. There were so many wonderful gourd pieces. It was so hard. It was so difficult. But the Placer Art Association should be very proud to have this first place award. Joyce Campbell, the band. All right.
I wanted to add here that this is such an interesting departure from the traditional gourd art that we see.
Yep.
And when someone like Joyce really pushes the boundaries like this, it's so exciting to me to see that happen. And she's actually going to be a presenter for Placerville Arts Association, I believe in February of next year. So it's a great opportunity to actually come and talk with her. She also does classes. But I just wanted to add that because it's such a interesting difference and furthering of the artistic craft of gourding. And anyway, I just thought it was really extraordinary.
Yeah, it really, really was. And thank you for adding that. I have no history or knowledge of Joyce's work other than what I've seen. So it was just impressive. I mean, and I've seen a lot of gourd work. So this is very, very nice. All right, we're going to go to honorable mention. And this is the Mother Lode Cowboy. And it's by Lucille Van Omering. When I saw this on entry thing, it drew me in. And I had no idea that when I saw it in person, that I even went further into the piece of art. I mean, it's just, it may not be for everybody, but again, that's why I'm judging it. It's an amazing piece. The fabric, the look, the eyes, everything about it is just spectacular. So he's definitely having a conversation with me, and he did ask me to come closer at the gallery, and I did. So I really was impressed with this piece. All right. Next honorable mention is The Natural World by Cheryl Gleason. Abstract art that is at its finest with vibrant colors. Just amazing piece. And I look at it, and every time I look at it, I see something different. I'm not sure what I'm seeing, but each time it's different. From seeing an elephant to seeing a creature who's looking out. It's a wonderful, wonderful piece of art. And I'd like to thank Cheryl for entering.
And she sold that piece that night. It
Yes.
sold.
She beat out my friend who was going to go buy it.
Oh, whoops.
Told me after I was going to buy that. He lost all his art in the fire at the Bear River. And so he's replacing art, and he really loved it. So I said, well, you snooze, you lose. You got to get in there fast and quick. All right, let's move on to the Award of Merit. This piece is honorable mention. I'm still at honorable mention. Whew, I'm moving too fast. This is by Elizabeth Dolbeck Alvaleris. It's called Untitled number 54. I read an article after this exhibit that she had been titling her pieces with numbers, and now she's going to start titling her pieces. I read a little history on Elizabeth. She's an art teacher. And this work is so different, so unique. You all may have seen a lot of this kind of work out there. I haven't, especially here in California. So this is pretty spectacular, and it was very, very impressive. The colors are amazing. So I enjoyed it, and thought it deserved recognition. All right, now we'll go to the Award of Merit. And again, we're going to have a hard time with this. It's Morning Has Broken by Randy Hanerla. Again, some people think it looks like a forest on fire, and some people think it's the sunlight coming to the woods, but it drew me in. It's a beautiful abstract piece of art. I'm gonna lose my voice, guys. So it's, I think anybody would be proud to own this piece. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Daryl O'Sullivan, Aria, Las Vegas. Photograph. This piece is image making, abstract image making. It's really an image that is meant to be abstract art. Images are a lot of things, and more artists are starting to make or replica other modes of art, and this is abstract to me. I mean, it might be something to someone else, but it just drew me in. I think it's absolutely spectacular. All right, let's move on to the next one. And again, Garrett Van Omermering, Crazy Day on the Tower Bridge. I mean, I can visualize laying on that bridge and looking up through there and seeing that. It's abstract art to me, but I can visualize laying on the middle of the road and just looking up at all of that metal. It's absolutely spectacular. And again, you know, that's my interpretation. I love it. I think it's beautiful. All right, let's go on to Award of Excellence. Wow. Adriana Griffin, Delta Smelt with Poppies. I really got to talk with her afterwards. I was absolutely amazed. It was I believe the only piece of jewelry work that was submitted, but the enameling, the finish work, the beading, it's a lesson in making jewelry, and it has a little bit of everything. Absolutely spectacular. I'm not sure that someone would wear it necessarily, but to look at it, it's a piece of art. All right, then we're going to go on to the next one. This is by Hannah and Alana Nicholson van Alta. It's called Midnight Bloom. Again, wonderful, wonderful glasswork. Something I hadn't seen before until let's say the last year. You're seeing more and more art that's glass art that's a little different. And this piece is I can't even imagine trying to make this. And I've been into glass studios. I've never made glass, but I have gone into a lot of glass studios, and I can't even imagine how this, I mean, I know they blow it, and the little dots are added, they're applications, and the flowers are applications, but really spectacular. All right, the next one. Recovery. Joyce Sakoto Rao. I don't know what to say about this piece. It's just something that caught my eye and brought me in, and I wanted to look closer and try to interpret it in my own way. I think everybody who would look at this piece of sculpture would see something different. You know, you see a head, you see a fish, but what is it trying to tell us? And I'm not a big person in thinking everybody has to be told a story. Sometimes you make your own stories up by seeing the pieces. The artist is obviously telling a story, and they usually are, but sometimes we don't see it that way. This was a spectacular piece of art. And I wish more people would enter clay. I mean, ceramics and clay are just, and like glass and jewelry, there's so much out there that's absolutely spectacular that people they don't feel comfortable. So mixed media is just the perfect place for this. But I wish we had more shows. I mean, I know we had the clay show in Sacramento and Sika, and so there was a lot of clay around, and everybody got to go to a lot of different galleries, but the average person does not go to the Ansika. They really have to be clay lovers, ceramic lovers, to go to those shows. And this really shows the average person who's going to go to a gallery and just look at a lot of art and say, wow, you know, I'd like to take that piece home. That is pretty spectacular. All right.
But before you move on, ceramics is one of those interesting places where there's the question of where does craft stop and art begin?
Right.
And one of the things that I really appreciated about the entries that you juried into the show were Luke Haley's pieces that were, especially the lamp, which was both art and functional.
Right.
And where is that line created and drawn? And sometimes it becomes in how often it's repeated, but admittedly, that lamp was one in a series of, I think he said 17 or something like that, that were all done at the same time. And I actually was on art tours the year he was showing many of those lamps in his own personal gallery. So I think that this clay work, obviously what we see here, there's no question that one would consider that art, but I do appreciate when things that may be more easily replicated or reproduced in a similar way are also considered art. So thank you for including some of that in the show, Barbara.
Yeah, I have been buying, we'll call it art, clay art, but ceramic pieces, lamps, etc., since the 60s as a designer. I have a huge white ceramic art that's absolutely amazing lamp that because obviously in the 60s that was the big thing, a lot of clay, and giving my age away here, but that's okay. And it's coming back because obviously mid-century it has been back for the last 8 or 9 years, but now it's really hitting the market. And so a lot of people are actually starting to purchase on Etsy and eBay pieces from the 70s and the 60s and the 80s. And when you look at them now, they're absolutely fabulous. They've stood the test of time. So, I mean, they might need new shade, or you might not use that piece. You might display the piece. But I'm so glad that there were some pieces entered that I could judge in because I enjoy it so much. All right, thank you.
Absolutely, yes.
All right, let's go on to the Anita Wolf Award by Janina Brigman, called Dog Beach. This is so much fun. How could you not like it? But the motion, the action, the joy. I mean, this was so joyful that for me, it wasn't about the technique. It was about the story it was telling me, the joy of these two critters, puppies, having so much fun. And whoever would have this piece in their home would look at this every day and just have a big smile on their face. And to me, you know, art tells a story. And to everybody, it's a different story. And that's the fun of it. So.
And this piece was sold, so someone will be enjoying it in their
Oh,
home.
it was. How
It was.
wonderful.
Yes, yes.
Oh, yeah, wonderful, because it's spectacular. It really,
It is
I
indeed.
mean, the first time I saw it on Entry Thingy, it had a conversation with me. But when I saw it in the gallery hung, I was like, oh, wow, this is
Right.
really pretty special.
Yeah, very, very well done. And congratulations to the artist on that award in particular, because there's a secondary level of juror for that award. So what happens is Barbara jurors the show, and then we have a second juror that endows this award come through, Joyce Martin, and tags the pieces that Barbara should consider for this award. She was a student of Anita Wolf. So very large congratulations to the artist, Janine Brigham here. And I too really, really enjoyed this piece, Barbara. So thank you for that.
Did
And
you happen to, the woman that does the endowment, did she happen to see the piece that won?
She,
I sent her an email with the piece and told her, because I wasn't sure if she attended or not.
Okay,
So she does know.
good. Well, I hope we did her proud.
And speaking of Joyce Martin, the juror in this case, she will be our presenter at our January member meeting. She's going to talk to us about painting using oils. And she's also an instructor locally for painting with oil. And so it'll be a great time for us all to get to know Joyce a little bit better. And then moving on to the finale here.
Yes. Best of show. Karen Burns. Kitchen Chaos 1. Well, it's Kitchen Chaos, but on my sheet it's 1. Yeah, I don't know what to say. I just looked at this and I know she's a still life artist and that's her, format. But this was abstract still life. That's all I can say. And I looked at that, the combination of the metal and the simplicity of the red color, but the different tonalities of the metal, just really had a conversation with me about wow. And the pieces are, they're not new, they're not shiny, they've been used, they've had life, they've had a life. Yeah, I really, at that point, when I looked at it, I said, I don't care if anybody else agrees with me. This to me is the star of the show for the type of work that it is. So I hope everybody enjoyed it, and it's okay to disagree. That's what art's about.
I really think her use of red in this piece, it's
Yep.
not overt, but it pulls your eye around the piece in a really, really beautiful way.
Yep.
And I think it was absolutely brilliant to add that red in there, whether it
Yep.
existed originally or not. It really does pull the piece together, and yet it's not overt at all. You almost have to look at the piece a few times before you notice that the red is even there. Anyway, I thought it was an extremely interesting use of color in what otherwise is pretty without a lot of overt color, although
Right.
we know there's a lot in there.
It's pretty monochromatic. Even if it's just silvers and bronzes and pewters and that, but and if you look closely, some of the reds have a different tone. So some of the caps or the tops have different tones of red in them, from bright red to almost a burgundy blue red. So yeah, I just thought it was spectacular. So
yeah, very nice. And we wanted to give it a few minutes here if any of you had questions. There have been a few things that have shown up in the chat, and I'm just working with one screen today, not two, so I wasn't able to look at what was coming through. But unmute yourselves, and if there's a question now, let's ask that. And I'm going to stop my screen sharing so we can see one another as we do that. Does anybody have any questions for Barbara?
I do. Hi, I'm Valerie. I thank you for your time and efforts in judging this show. It sounds like it was amazingly huge. I want to also run back to something we were talking about earlier in regards to ceramics and clay work. I am a clay artist. I was lucky to get in the show. When you are going through entry thingy and looking at clay, as a judge, is it helpful? Do you look at all the views of the piece when you're trying to fish through what you're going to accept in the show?
Yeah, if there's multiple views, you have to look at all of them. But the photograph that artists take, it's a make or break, really, because some of the photographs were good, but then when I saw the piece, I was like, wow, this is even better than the photograph. And then some folks, their photographs just, they need to work on it. And that's, every curator will say the same thing, that the photograph really, when you're doing entry thingy, is the make or break for getting into an exhibit. So it's
yeah. I think, like I had a piece called The Courtesans. It's like 3 pieces with wire and beads and things all hanging through it, all over it. And one of the struggles I had in the photograph is that I have they were sizable, as you know, because they made it into the show. trying to cram it into this little tiny format
Yep.
when they're so three-dimensional is very difficult. And one of the shout outs I will say about why a lot of clay sculptors do not submit is often having shown a lot of my clay work, I've run all the gambit. I had a juror tell me that sculpture wasn't fine art. And I've also been put on a counter, like a second thought, kind of to the side. I have had the fortune of also having Best of Show and having my piece brought out at the correct level. And a lot of that is so difficult to know, like, is this a sculpture friendly show or not?
Yeah.
I think that's a lot of the hesitation.
Yeah, that's it really, I see all aspects of it because one of my best friends is a collector of ceramics. And he was the gentleman I was talking about who had over 900 pieces that he's collected all of his life. And he was burnt out at Bear River.
So sad.
And so I've had the pleasure of going to the Crocker and different events with him because my knowledge, I never took a ceramics class. I think I took everything else except for jewelry making, oil painting, and ceramics. And that's from the time I was 13 years old. So I went to some very fine art schools, not to become an art maker, but in my own form of interior design. And I learned so much from them all about the glazes, the type of glazes, the firing, the burning. Ray Gonzalez is a good friend of mine. And finally I said, Ray, I've got to take a class. I said, because I'm learning everything, but I want to actually feel it and understand it. And the fact that you make something and then you put it in the fire and then it falls apart or it breaks or it's an imperfect because the piece above it, it's a very, very difficult form of art. And so I was I'm always trying to learn more, but you're right. It's very hard to judge 400 and some pieces, on entry thingy with a little photograph. Yeah. I kept blowing them up and trying to look closer and see. So some of it came down to gut. I look at it and I'm like, I think there's more to this than that it's coming out to me, and going for it because sometimes it's difficult, and I always feel sad when something doesn't get in that I'm like, oh, like some of the pieces that I did select, they didn't end up coming in because they were at another show, and a lot of it was rusty, dirty metal, which is one of my passions, is recycled, repurposed art. And I was like, oh, darn it, because it really does give balance to the show. But I know what you're saying about ceramic, because they don't understand it. The people who are curating the show, they don't understand the difficulty of making it. They think, the old saying is, you take the arts and crafts, to let's say some of us looking at us, how did we get out of going to Vietnam? Some of the gentlemen, they took the back in those days, people would say, well, they went to college and took arts and crafts, or they took clay making or whatever. And so it's a difficult subject, but it's hard to make. I mean, I the little bit that I've been learning, I'm like, wow, I'm impressed always. So
yeah, it's very
I
difficult.
hope you were happy, but
I'm happy. And Ray is an excellent teacher. I was part of the show that he was during, that was delaying some of the ceramics to this one, Bold Expression.
I knew Ray had that show going.
Yeah, he's great.
He
gave me
are
an award.
Actually very, very, very good friends. So
yeah.
Yeah,
he took some time with me on my piece and really talked to me about some of the technicalities. With clay, you work really hard, and like you say, it may blow up, and it may not. It's just whether
Yeah.
or not it's meant to be. Once again, thank you for your time in this. I
Oh,
really
you're
do
welcome.
appreciate
It,
your
it was a
efforts.
total joy. It really was.
As a producer of these shows, and we do at least 2 member shows every year, and then the Mother Lode Show, it really does point out the importance of finding a judge that's not so rigid in their definition of what is fine art. Fine art is
Yeah.
truly evolving, and at Placerville Arts Association, we try to stay very open and receptive to all forms of creativity. I have recently invited someone who does artistic floral arranging to enter our member shows with her
Yep.
piece, because I want to expand that definition of what can be considered fine art. And yes, it does make some of our members' heads explode because they're much more traditional in their approach, but they also have a
Right.
problem with our abstract, experimental, mixed media category, and they're not really happy that photography's there. So you cannot let people with rigid beliefs define what is art.
Yeah.
And so it is important to do a little bit of interviewing with the judge to make sure that their mind is somewhat expanded on that point of view. And Valerie, I encourage you to enter again. Valerie was in the 55th National Mother Lode Art Exhibition. I actually touched her piece to move it around the gallery, scared me to death. And luckily, and one of the things that's been so awesome for me at the MAC is that handling of your pieces is done by true professionals. So we're in good hands when we're at the MAC, and I like it very much. Does anyone else have anything that they would like to talk to Barbara about before we let her move on to her next engagement? Roberta?
I would like to thank Barbara for her comments, for her critique. I was juried into the show and didn't win, but I'm delighted with the choices she made. And I grow from the critique and can try and make my next pieces better from what I hear from the judge of what they like. So thank you, Barbara.
Yeah, you're welcome. And, curating and judging a show, I've done both for one show. It's extremely difficult to do. And especially when you like all art, there are people who there's only certain type of art that they think is like Lynn Nell said, that's appropriate, or that's a really fine piece of art. And to me, I mean, I've looked at some rusty, dirty yard art that has been amazing. I went to up in Chico. I went to their weekend tour about a month ago with my kids, and I walked into a yard. It was an art tour of a metal artist. He had a huge studio in the back all set up, and some of his was yard art, some great yard art. But I started walking around. He had some metal sculptures out of rusty old metal that was as fine of art and sculpture as you would see anywhere, done anywhere. It was amazing. And afterwards I spoke to him and I said, have you ever entered a show, an exhibit of any kind? He said, no. He says, I do rusty yard art. I said, oh no, I can see that at the Crocker. I mean, that is how fabulous it was. And it was simple. It wasn't like we normally see with lots of things coming off of it, which is so much fun to see what they used to make it. This was just simple, turned rusty metal into wonderful sculpture. So yeah, it's you have to see it. As I always, somebody says, how do you know if it's good? I said, I cannot tell you that. It's just all the years of seeing art and in training. And when I see it, I know it. And you may not see the same thing, but for me, I know it's art. And, we can't have that conversation anymore about what's the difference between craft and crafting. I mean, obviously there's crafting. We all agree on that. There's different levels, but there's at some point a craft form becomes art.
Yeah.
And, you know, how long are you working at it and what ability do you have? How do you finish that piece of work? I mean, if you just throw it together, well, it's a craft, I'm sorry. But if you've taken the time to really finish it and present it so that somebody looks at it and they're like, oh, I want to take that and put that on my table, then it's an art.
There was a piece of fabric art in the Mother Lode show.
Yep.
I don't remember the artist, but the name of the piece was Isolation. And it was a very powerful piece. And I would not in any way, shape, or form call that craft work. I mean, it was very
Yep.
well done art, and it was a very moving piece. And the artist expressed that it was about the isolation of COVID, but for me, it came across as the isolation that can happen with aging. And so it was just an extremely powerful piece. And that's an example of an art form that, yes, you can make a quilt, and it can be a really beautiful quilt, and it may approach art in the intricacy and beauty of the quilt. And in other times, it may just be a patterned quilt that's much more common and doesn't approach that level of art. But then that's true of acrylic painting as well. So it's true of many different types of mediums. So art is just having an open mind about it, and we'll see more and better art all the time. I think it's been really great to talk with you today. Let's just double check with our group here and make sure that no one else has anything they'd like to add at this point.
I just want to say thank you to Barbara again. I don't know how we're gonna find another judge.
Well, that's very sweet of you.
Well, I'm serious, because I know our goal was to open this show up to a wide variety of art. And when we were marketing to artists, and I spoke to artists personally beforehand, encouraging them to enter when they thought they shouldn't because their piece wasn't good enough. And they got, I'd say the majority of the ones, we must have the same taste. I'm not putting myself on your level, but the majority of the ones I encouraged personally did get in the show, and I was thrilled for them because there was quite a few of them. It was their first time ever entering the show. And like how I think what Valerie had said was about one artist that I spoke with, the watercolor artist that did the pointillism, Judy. I think Judy Lou Luce, I think was her name. We emailed back and forth, and she had been declined in watercolor shows because she didn't fit the watercolor, whatever they need with watercolor shows, the paper and so forth. And she didn't want to enter shows because she had been turned down so many times. And I encouraged her that I said, I'm not the judge. I can't say you're going to get in the show, but it's different. We've not seen this before. And then talking with you and knowing who you are, and then I don't think we had to give you any direction because you are who you are, and it was fit perfectly with us. So I thank Cheryl and you. So yeah, I don't know how we're going to do what we're going to do next year. I may have to ask you for help. Like, who should I get next?
I know a few people, to say the least.
Okay, good. I'll take your
When you're just talking about that, the biggest joy I have, and when I used to do the Art League of Lincoln, and I did the gift shop and curated events, and the biggest joy I would have is people who thought they were not artists. And I remember an artist, and she hasn't been producing for the last couple of years. Her name was Marion Randall, and she was a member of the Art League of Lincoln. And she brought actually another member who's a photographer said to me, Barb, I want you to see her work. She's a fabulous artist. She doesn't think she's an artist. I said, well, have her bring a piece in. And what she did was took the old National Geographics, cut them up, and she did absolutely fabulous miniature landscapes. The detail was amazing. I mean, you would see it and you would go, this lady has been doing this work all of her life. That's how wonderful it was. And I brought it in, and we had it in the gift shop, and I talked her into doing one of my Pure Imagination shows. She won. She next entered Crocker. She won. Her piece had the highest selling price for the show of that year. and it was only this big. So that's my joy, is seeing art and encouraging people who think they don't have a talent because someone told them they didn't fit the mold. So thank you for saying that, because it brought that excitement out on me. I sometimes, when I get it and I'm talking about art, to me, art is, it's different for everybody, and how it's done and how it's approached is different for everybody. And I can sit there and talk, and I don't enjoy doing that. I enjoy talking about how it makes me feel and what it makes the artist feel and what, they can do with it. And, curating and judging a show is not easy. And if to do it right, and there's people who do it right, and there's people who don't do it right. It's just what it is. It's like anything else. So thank you very, very much. All right.
Oh, thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
I gotta get going.
All right. Well, thank you all today. Thank you, Barbara, for being with us. If anyone wants to revisit the Mother Lode Show, this recording, our previous recording, are available both through YouTube and directly from the PAA.gallery website, where the Mother Lode Show, even though it's closed, live at the MAC, will be up for at least the next few months. So you can continue to enjoy the show. And thank you, Barbara. We'll sign off with
Thank
you
you,
now.
everybody. Thank you and for inviting me.
Yes, thank you so much for being with us
All
today.
right. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. I'm gonna launch into my announcements here for those of you who are Placerville Arts Association members. In our newsletter this previous month, we posted a roster of nominations for the board of directors for next year. To actually vote on that roster, it requires a quorum of members present. Unfortunately, we're not even close to that quorum. So what happens in that event is that, based on the recommendation of the board of directors, I will approve the nominations of the officers for the next year's board so we can continue to operate. And keep in mind that board positions can be added to or resigned at any point during the year. So if any of you are interested in serving on our board in a capacity for next year, please let me know. Tomorrow, Monday, will be a big day. We have an organizational meeting for our 2023 member meetings at the Senior Center on Spring Street in Placerville. That meeting will be from 2 to 4. Please feel free to join us for that. Our meeting is in the large lunchroom. Also, tomorrow is the day to pick up your entries from the Mother Lode Show at the MAC. If you can't pick up tomorrow, I will be down there from 8 to noon, and I can bring something back to Placerville for you. Sue sent email out regarding alternatives to picking up. You don't have much time. If you don't have your art out of the MAC by Wednesday, you don't own it anymore. So beginning in January, our member meetings will resume in person at the Senior Center on Springs in Placerville on the third Monday of each month. The meetings will take place from 2:30 to 4:30 in the afternoon. We could use your help with planning these meetings and setting up before the meetings. Let me know if you would like to help. We especially need volunteers to operate our video camera, set up our new Bose speakers, and facilitate the Zoom component of the meeting. Our next board meeting will be Friday, January 6th, 10 to noon at the Raley's Placerville Conference Room. As soon as they open up their calendar, I will confirm that, because they still haven't opened it up for next year. Any member is invited to attend our board meeting. In fact, we occasionally have guests attend as well. We have openings on the board as well as advisory and committee volunteer opportunities. The best way to find your fit to do more with PAA is to join us at the board meetings. If you're interested in participating in next year's board, please contact me to discuss the possibilities. There will not be an art lunch in December. That will resume in January, but please join us for our holiday brunch at the Buttercup Pantry in Placerville on Wednesday, December 14th at 10 a.m. There's no need to prepay this year, but Kathy Kyle would like you to RSVP to allow for planning of appropriate seating. Details and RSVP information is found on PAA's website and in the November newsletter also posted on PAA's website. If you plan to attend, it would be great if you'd like to participate in our fun gift exchange and bring a wrapped piece of your artwork for that exchange. Tuesday Art Time is back Tuesday mornings at the Senior Center. Carolyn Cunningham is the organizer of this group. Carolyn is also organizing our plein air paintouts. Please see the website and Placerville PAA's newsletter for more information about these events. It is time to renew your membership for 2023. Our newsletter will only be distributed directly to PA members, and after distribution will be posted to our Facebook page and website to be available to the general public. So if you want to receive the newsletter directly to your email inbox, be sure you join PAA for 2023. Also remember that another benefit of membership are our member shows. In addition to our spring and fall member shows at the Government Center in 2023, we have been invited to show over the summer at the Bank of America Gallery at the Harris Center in Folsom. More details will follow. If you would like to serve on the committee for that event, please let me know that as well. We do have a few people who have volunteered to serve, and those people will be making the decisions about what will be accepted, if it will be members only, if it will be an open juried event. All those decisions will be made, and we'll post those fairly soon. Our first member show will be at the Government Center in April. Dates to be determined. We're not sure if we have the center for 1 or 2 weeks, and as soon as we have that finalized, we'll let you know the exact dates. As a reminder, we do not have a member meeting in December. We do not have a board meeting in December. We are having that holiday brunch. So we hope to see you all there in December. And that's about what I have for today. Does anybody else have anything they would like to have included in our meeting? All right, I'm going to stop our recording.